Brandon wrote to me and he asked me, David, how do I put a team together to buy a business? Hey there everyone, it's David Barnett from davidcbarnett.com, the blog site and associated YouTube channel where I talk about buying and selling businesses, local investing, managing small businesses, and anything else really that people want to ask me. Today's question is from Brandon, who wants to know how to put a team together to buy a business. And buying a business really is a team effort. You've got yourself, but maybe there's a business broker there, maybe there's an accountant there, there's going to have to be a lawyer there at some point. Maybe there's going to be some other people that help you inspect equipment or machinery or buildings. You got technicians, mechanics, surveyors, all that kind of stuff, different people that could come to the plate. Not to mention bankers and people that are going to help get the money together, or maybe even other investors, right? So there's a whole team. It's a big job. And one of the biggest things that I can say to people is that you have to make sure that the people on your team are qualified and that they've done it before. What do I mean? Well, if you do my online course, Business Buyer Advantage, which you can get at businessbuyeradvantage.com, there's actually a whole section of that program on building the team, and I get into details about a lot of these different professionals. But here's a snippet. An accountant, for example. Many people think that an accountant is an accountant is an accountant, and it's not always true. In fact, in some places in the world, people who call themselves accountants are actually bookkeepers. Depends on your jurisdiction and the rules in place about who can use what titles. Where I live right here, in fact, there are bookkeepers that call themselves accountants, and they're not really professional accountants. So that's the number one thing. Number two, the vast majority of people who are accountants spend their time preparing financial statements and completing tax forms, not helping people buy businesses or doing valuations or helping people with due diligence. So to simply say you need to get an accountant to help you buy a business is actually only half of the journey. You need to find an accountant who knows how to do it and has done it before with other people, and ideally you're going to check their references and they're going to be able to give you the names and phone numbers of other people that they've helped to buy a business, and you can talk to those people and find out how satisfied or dissatisfied they were. So here's a little insight. For example, I've had many people over the years talk with accountants and use accountants to help them do due diligence to buy a business, and the accountants looked at the financial statements provided by the sellers. Here's the problem. Financial statements are nothing more than ink on paper. And I know this is mind-blowing, but there have been instances in this world where people who are trying to rip someone off made up or falsified financial statements and put the name and letterhead of a reputable accounting firm on them and then handed them out to people. It can happen. So doing due diligence and looking at financial statements of a business is more than just looking at the paperwork that's provided. It's figuring out what are some easy ways that we can use third-party data that we can trust to validate these statements as being correct. So for example, it could be something like also asking for 12 months of bank statements so that you can match up the deposits with the sales figure, right? And so you need an accountant who is used to going through this kind of process that can determine what are the right things that we have to look at to make sure that we can have a degree of confidence in these financial statements, especially if they're financial statements that have been produced by another accountant who himself or herself hasn't done any degree of validation or investigation into the company. Anyway, I hope that gives you a little bit of an insight into team building. If you want to know more, go do the course at businessbuyeradvantage.com. It's just a couple $100. Comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk to you. But more importantly, the follow-up 12-step self-study coaching program called The Next Step actually includes a section. One of the 12 steps is building the team and actually identifying by name and contact and validating all the different people that you're going to need to put on your team to buy a business. And it's one of the most important steps in that self-coaching program to make sure that you're ready to act when the right business appears. Anyway, keep the questions coming, guys. I love them. If you ever want to talk with me, clarity.fm/David Barnett, and go to my website, sign up for my email list if you haven't already. I send out an email every week with videos like this one, as well as news about live appearances and things like that. So if you ever want to come and meet me live in one of my workshops, that's the way to make sure you don't miss them. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.